Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Shalom to the sincere elect teaching the truth and faith and sincerity. And hey, man, as you can see, man, like, you know, things have been heating up. You know, like prophecy is speaking. And I mean, this past week and a half, 2 weeks, like, there's just a lot of things that's been happening up in the world. You know, from the, you know, the ICE raids, you know, in you know what I mean, California.
The Palantir live.
Yeah, Palantir, which that those are what? The artificial intelligence and information gathering. And even at these protests, there's been information on like people's face being scanned and that, like, all of their information being pulled up. You know, you obviously have the same migrant protests and clashes in Northern Ireland over here, like in these isles. You got the Israel situation, Israel like Iran. You know, information on Trump making more cuts, and that's even affecting food banks. You know, and just the mindset of the people is split. Even with these protests, with the raids, with the migrant raids and all that kind of stuff. Remember, they were talking about in Florida that if you need to drive through a crowd, and people want to, you know, and you feel threatened, it's cool to run them over.
That one was so wild, bro. I had to check the.
If you can find an article as well.
Yeah, I had to check that because you see it, and I was like, you see the Ron DeSantis saying it, and I was like, nah, is this real? Because that's just showing, if I may real quick, because you're talking about that division that you're having in the States, right? This is Isaiah 19:2. So now set the Egyptians against the Egyptians, and they shall fight everyone against his brother, and everyone against his neighbor, city against city, and kingdom against kingdom.
Yeah, man. So like, you know, it's like now that there's even information on like the Mexican cartel being classed as a T, you know, group. So it's like now it's like more or less it's like oh, these cartel members are the ones that's bringing these migrants over the border. So it's like now there was even talks about how like the Mexican flag is being associated as a symbol now. You know what I mean? It's so, and like, and people will be like, oh well no, because remember, if they've made the Palestinian flag a symbol of terrorism, then it's not hard for them to make the same thing for a Mexican flag.
It's a term, manufacturing consent, right? They're basically making it such that people feel like, yeah, you know, whatever, like when they're seeing certain things and then they're associating that flag with those things, it basically makes the public basically agree with whatever it is that the government is about to do to them.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. Which what they don't get is that, especially with the California situation, which there's other towns and cities where they're protesting. They're obviously protesting in Texas as well, you know. And it's like, what people don't understand is that these certain laws that they say it's fine to like do certain things now, those same laws can eventually be used on you average everyday people, man.
Yeah, because that's one of the things. Was a video that I did earlier in the week. It was going into that whole thing about, you know, manufacturing consent, right? Basically making the people effectively agree to something that really, in the long term, isn't for their benefit. Right? They, you know, when people are agreeing. So I got that article of DeSantis, right? It says, what you call it, from the Hill. It says Ron DeSantis, running over protesters is allowed if driver feels life is in danger.
Yeah, and it's like, what classifies as danger now? Because what if you're just paranoid?
Exactly.
And now you put a safety net in people's minds that if I need to, I can use that as an option now. So now people, like, you know, they're seeing their lovely Babylon 4 might just be frustrated and go out their house and see a Mexican family and just run them over.
Exactly.
And just say, I felt threatened. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, it's different if it's like, oh, okay, if it's in a certain zone. But if now you're saying, if you feel threatened, now someone can just go and do a hate crime against Mexicans.
That's it.
You know, and just say, I felt threatened. And that's it.
Yeah, because you get certain words where it's open to interpretation, and you know one thing for sure, that Edomite will get away with it, right? Because there's certain thing like you get the stand your ground laws and stuff like that, right? Where it's like someone's breaking into your property, etc., etc. You can kind of just do what you're gonna do, right? But you know, as soon as it's a Jake trying to echo, I felt threatened, all of a sudden, you know, they'll start bringing out stuff against him.
Yeah,
right. But you know one thing for sure, these things are gonna be used against you. You know.
Keep going on article, but as well, go back to Isaiah when the true Lord as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it says, oh damn, was this a video or something? Because it's not got a lot of information. Let me try to find another article. Let me read from the Miami Herald. Right, it says, come on, man. You know, you got all of these bloody pop-ups on these websites these days. So it says, the thousands of Floridians expected to march in the No Kings National Day of Defiance on Saturday had better be on their best behavior, warned Florida governor.
And on Saturdays, isn't it Trump's birthday or something?
I
think it's Trump's birthday.
No.
And it's the 250th year anniversary of the Army, like of America.
Right, I do know.
Because I think because the 1776 is next year for the 250 of the states now.
I forget.
But anyway,
yeah. But I do know it's in the UK. It's the King's birthday tomorrow.
Yeah. But as in, type it in. Trump's birthday. I believe that it's like tomorrow, something, and it's just like planned protests. I was planned, like, basically...
Yeah, 14th of June.
Yeah, tomorrow, they're expecting a lot of, like, protests.
Yeah, so that's funny that it coincides, once again, with what in the UK is referred to as the King's birthday.
Oh, is it? Well, what is that? Is that actually...
Yeah, King's birthday tomorrow.
Oh, wow. Okay, God.
So let me understand, because I know there's, the king has two birthdays. I don't really understand the difference. King's birthday.
But in general, man, like, as you can see, like, as well, we obviously had the airline crash in India.
Yeah.
You know, so there's just a lot going on spiritually, man.
Yeah.
Like, there's judgment taking place, and there's judgment that's being built up. You know. And like even with the whole situation with California, and which that's where it started. Yeah. There's information, like there was just ads posted on Craigslist of, like, you know, people needed for a certain task in the California area, and they was paying well. Like there was some reports about 5-6 grand plus. And obviously, as you know, like, that kind of environment, especially with the Skid Row and all that, it's like people will do anything for money. That's shit. Even P. Diddy, they was paying people $20 an hour to stand outside the courtroom wearing free P. Diddy shirts.
Really?
Yeah. People was actually just standing out in the courtroom saying free Diddy.
Wow.
You know, because they was getting paid to do it. So how much more to, like, be a part of this war game, essentially?
Yeah.
You know?
Since Isaiah 19:4 has requested, it says, and the Egyptians will I give over into the hand of a cruel lord.
Yeah, man, and it's clear. Like, man, that's Trump, bro. Like, bro, remember, Trump's only been so-called in power 5-6 months.
Yeah, it's turned the whole world upside
down. There's information on, like, food banks, you know, getting longer lines because of more cuts.
Yeah, cuts, the tariffs, you know, all of the above, man. You know, it goes on saying, and the fierce king shall rule over them, saith the Lord, Yahweh of hosts.
Yeah, man. And it's like, even remember with this whole, with the National Guard being deployed, California was talking about trying to sue Trump. You know?
Yeah. So you're basically seeing the split as we read in Isaiah 19:2, right? And you are going to end up in the situation with and it's funny because that was what released last year. What was the name? Civil War, right?
Yeah.
That's what you're kind of starting to see get set up, man. See, this is the thing. Esau understands the nature of man, right? He understands how to manipulate people to his will, and that's what you're basically seeing, right? In all of these different things that are happening in the world at the moment, man. Esau's just playing people like a fiddle, basically, right?
Yeah. Yeah, man, and it's like, it's only about to get worse, because basically we're basically seeing second Ezra 15.
Yeah.
You know, because now they obviously got the curfews.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
even did you see that video, bro, of the news reporter lady that straight up just got like shot in the head with a rubber bullet.
Yeah.
One of them ICE dudes just straight up, you know, picked her out, man.
Yeah. Which once again, it's funny because of, you know, in Esau's laws, right, there are certain protected classes, right? You know, the press being one of them. But what have you seen them gutter rats do? Right, constantly killing people that are press, right? And then also you saw it, to be fair, I feel like you saw it in the BLM nonsense as well, where like press were being targeted, right? So basically what they're showing you is showing that, look, ultimately in this new world, no one's safe. You know, people have this idea that they have rights, right? But what they're coming to find out in these last days is not, those weren't rights, they were privileges, right? Esau's getting ready to take all of those privileges away, right? Which for us, we're like, we told you so. But through the spirit,
which ties into that scripture, he frameth mischief by law, because like what Esau does is he'll focus on a small group of people, or just make up a threat, pass laws based upon a small threat, and then those laws are vague enough to be transferable to other groups of people.
That's it.
You know?
That's it. And the thing is, he'll use a situation, right, where people will, on the surface of it, agree, right? In fact, because I've got the one you quoted, but I'll also load this one up. It will use a situation where on the surface people agree, like for instance, ending DEI as an example. Let's take that, because people will be like, yeah, but you know, why is a, you know, transformer or Decepticon, as I like to call them, being allowed to do X, Y, and Z? On the surface of it, it makes sense. But when you understand who you're dealing with the devil, right? And therefore, those laws end up getting used against you, right? So you would have had veterans that would have voted for Trump, being like, yeah, NDEI, not understanding that also fucks them over, right? So if I can, before I get the one you quote, this is 2 Corinthians 2:11. It says, lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices, right? So we're not ignorant of the things that Esau's setting up. We're not ignorant that, you know, these protests, right, are going to be used to enact new laws and to set new precedents, right? Because once again, if DeSantis is saying, yo, you can run over a protester,
that's a big deal.
That's a big deal. That's a big deal. That's what's
like what qualifies as a protester?
Yeah.
What if you just happen to be going past the crowd? So what if you're trying to cross through the other way?
Well, this is the thing, right? Because actually, when you look at, like, for instance, when we're at camp, people may call that a protest. Right? Which, you know, we are protesting this man's kingdom, but you legit have people that will classify that as a protest. So that's a good question I'd rather ask. What is a protest? Okay.
Exactly.
But yeah, that's it. We're not ignorant of the fact that he will use these little things to stuff like that. Okay.
Because the scripture says the serpent was subtle. The only beast of the field, man. So Esau's patient. He's crafty. And in fact, you know, we can get Ecclesiasticus 12, never trust our enemy.
Yep.
It could be because because it's like, you know what I mean? It's like, these same people, like, you know what? They're doing their job. They're trying to make America's safe again. All these little buzzwords.
Yeah.
Not knowing these same laws and little concepts can be transferred directly to you.
That's it. When the time is fit. Because right now, once again, the protesters are people that are, protesting, against some of these raids. Which when you read some of the stories, it's like, yo, Esau's a coward, man.
Yep.
Right? Because here it is, it was like, oh, we're gonna go against the criminals. Yeah, it was like people, people that are on, I don't know what the technical term is, but basically let's call it bail. So they go in and they're like, look, I'm showing up for my immigration appointment, whatever, what have you. Yeah. And then they're arresting them, man.
Yeah.
There's one situation here, stories about like the lawyer leaves to go toilet and then they grab the guy up whilst the lawyer's in the toilet.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? And even on this whole Israel situation, as we was touching on, right? Bombing them in the middle of the bloody night, man.
Yep.
Right? I think they said it was like 3:30, which that numerology, 3:30 on February the 13th. It's like, okay, right? But in the middle of the night, man.
You mean June the 30th?
February the no, Friday the 13th. Still what I heard. Friday the 13th.
Might as well be February 30th. They do it every day.
Yeah. Right, yeah, but it's like 3:30, so 33 at Friday the 13th. So you're getting all of that, that symbolism, that masonry, and all of that sort of stuff, right? In the middle of the night, it's like, wait there, so you couldn't be a man, right? And then like wait till the middle. You waited until like man's was, and that's that good sleep. That's that deep sleep. Yeah, that deep sleep where you got a bit of drool, you're tossing and turning a little bit, that good REM sleep. And then before you know it, you have a bloody missile in your door, man.
Before you know it, you're in the spirit.
Yeah. So yeah.
And you know what? Them you know what I mean? The Amalek has been greatly despised, man.
Yeah.
See, Esau as a nation has been greatly despised, but even amongst Esau, because if Satan be divided against Satan, how can his kingdom stand? So even amongst Esau, these mice are being highly despised, bro.
Yeah.
Because their movement is just being found to be like unreasonable.
Yeah.
Like these people cannot be reasoned with.
Yeah. Because at the end of the day, people just want to chill, but it's like you will have people right now they're just like, bro, what are you doing?
Yeah.
People are like, what are you actually doing? Because they understand you don't just bomb Iran, right? There will be some kind of retaliation. We're waiting to see what kind of retaliation it will be, right? But they understand that which actually kind of proves spiritual, right? Because it basically says people in the spirit, they know that this Iran-Israel thing, right, is not a joke. And the things when you read the scriptures, right, in Jeremiah 49, right, speaks about the least of the flock shall draw them out. Right, so it's spiritual that everyone's kind of getting tense up. You start getting messages from people you ain't had a message from in a while. Yeah. Right, it's being like, oh yeah, have you seen this thing? They're like, yeah, bro. Yeah. Keeping it in tight. Yeah. But I've got the one you quoted, one in Sirach 12. Right, Sirach 12 and 10 says, never trust thine enemy, for like his iron rusted, so is his wickedness.
Yeah, man. So you can't trust Esau, and like even from this perspective of what we're speaking about, you got fucking actual like American citizens, praising Trump for like doing these raids, with ICE, not knowing, guess what? Once them laws get vague, mate, they can be transferred directly to you.
Yeah, and this is the thing as well. It's like insurance. You look at your insurance deal, your insurance contract. Yeah, when you need to make a claim, when you bought the insurance, you was just there like, all right, cool. If, for instance, people with the fire in California's earlier on in the year, they're all thinking, cool, I can just make a claim on my insurance. However, when they read the contract, those contracts are always watertight. So then it's like, wait there, so if the insurance contract is watertight, then why are certain of these laws very loose? they've got the ability to make some laws very watertight where there's no getting around it. You know, you can what was it, they call it, what, 360 deals, right? You get them 360 deals where your lawyer just looks, is like, look, well, there's nothing I can do. But when it comes to these T laws, these definitions of what a T is, all of a sudden Esau wants to go vague. Why is that? You got to ask yourself, why is that? The reason being is because they're making it as flexible as possible, so that they, when the time comes, they can use it as flexibly as possible. You know.
Yeah.
It goes on to say, verse 11, it says, though he humble himself and go crouching, yet take good heed and beware of him, and thou shalt be unto him as if thou hast wiped a looking glass, and thou shalt know that his rust hath not been altogether wiped away. Yeah. Right? And when you, once again, when you understand from the apostles on down, we've been warning you about this, man. Yeah. Right? We've been warning you about this, man. But the majority of our people, I'm gonna grab that as well. The majority of our people, they ain't gonna get it until it's too late.
There's a bit more in Ecclesiastes.
Okay, no worries.
Ecclesiasticus.
Yep.
When it speaks about that we humble himself, find him first, undermine you.
So it says, set him not by thee, lest, well, verse 12, Sirach 12 and 12, set him not by thee, lest when he hath overthrown thee, he stand up in thy place. Neither let him sit at thy right hand, lest he seek to take thy seat. And
yeah, and you know, obviously that first and foremost applies unto Jacob, of course, because you know what I mean, like a lot of our people have trusted in Trump, trusted in the system, but even mentally, like if we observe Babylon as a whole, obviously, you know, yes, we all know these elections are rigged and stuff, but just even from the mindset, like the propaganda train of Trump being a savior, you know, and like, of course, we know Trump's a puppet, you got people behind him who tell him what to do and all that, but just mentally thinking, like, bro, a lot of people put their trust in Trump and him being some kind of a savior.
Yeah.
You know, he's about to change, he's about to make us all rich.
Yeah, Richard, you have more money than you've ever, you won't know what to do with it.
You're gonna have more money than you ever have, and you're not gonna know what to do with it. Yeah. And so mentally they set, you know, this new system, Trump and all that, this whole thing, they was set, you know, by it, like they were set close to it, thinking, you know, it's about to prosper. And guess what? You're all being overthrown, man. Mm-hmm. Because guess what? Stricter laws have been put in place. Yeah. Right? More lockdowns are coming. Right? You got curfews going on. You got riots going on. Right? The National Guard. All right? Yeah. And it's only going to get worse.
Yeah. Precedents are being set, man.
That's it.
Right? Jade Helm was a precedent. It was the
yeah, it was.
No, it wasn't Jade Helm. I'm thinking of the Boston, after Boston, where you basically had the troops going door to door at end of habeas corpus, I think it was, whatever that law was called.
But also you also had Jade Helm.
Yeah. No, I get what you're saying. What we're saying is that was a precedent. Yeah. But when after the Boston Marathon thing, that was a precedent, having the because then now it's like, oh no, this never happened before. Oh no, it happened in Boston. Yeah. Right, and it's the same thing when
same thing with 9/11.
Exactly. Yeah. You know, they're setting precedents so that they can be like, wait there, and this is it. Right now, they've got a subject matter that a lot of people agree with. A lot of people are like, yeah, you know, we need to get these immigrants out of the country. Yeah. But as we're going into this lesson, right, all of them laws that are being written now against the immigrants are going to be used against you. Because that's just how the devil do.
She's a serpent, man.
Yeah.
The serpent's more subtle, man.
That's it.
You know? Go ahead.
So it says, I'll start from the top again, Sirach 12 and 12, set him not by thee, lest when he hath overthrown thee, he stand up in thy place. Neither let him sit at thy right hand, lest he seek to take thy seat. And thou at the last remember my words and be pricked therewith. Yeah. Right? So these people, and once again you deal with certain Jake that want to hold hand in hand with Esau, right? When all is said and done, they go and remember, they go, you know them ones, they go, okay, oh damn, them Israelites, all right, this man is the devil. Yeah. Right? Because right now we can have these conversations about, oh, is Esau the devil? Is he not the devil?
Which is clear he's the devil.
Exactly. But we're coming into a time where there ain't gonna be no question. You just gonna know it.
Yeah, well, that's right. The devil's gonna come down with great wrath.
That's it.
You know, and you know what? This man, it just shows you, man, like the mark of the beast is coming to pass, man. Because as equally as they're talking about these protests, these tensions going on, which again, as mentioned before, the same tensions are going on in Northern Ireland right now.
Yeah.
Like in Northern Ireland right now, in certain homes, certain like migrant homes, people are putting flags of the nationality of where they're from on their door, so that when the mob of lads go around homes to tear it down and ransack it, they can kind of get a bit of a leeway.
Yeah.
Because obviously they're focused on like Syrians and that whole region.
Yeah.
But I mean, come on, it's got that bad where people got to put flags in front of their door.
Yeah. And mind you, like even as you're saying, I'm thinking like this is what people need to understand, man. Esau knows who you are, where you are. He's just waiting for a time to use it against these guys that are doing the protesting there too.
Yep.
Right? He's gonna be like, well, we saw your phone was in this area, so we know you was here. Right? And they're gonna use certain things as precedents, man. Right, to basically, when a time comes to clamp down, like, look, this was violence we've never seen before, right? We can't have racism, so don't be surprised if then the laws for hate crime get even more harsh. But ultimately, we know that it's then going to be used against people that speak up against certain things, right? I.e. us, ultimately, because we understand a lot of these laws that are being passed are ultimately being passed against us, right, to make it harder for us to teach the truth. But guess what? That's Amos 8 and 11, man, right? And so ultimately it's like, yeah, alright, cool, you do that, so guess what? It's just you're just fulfilling prophecy, innit? Ultimately we're like, alright, that was alright. That's what you would do, calm, innit?
Yeah. I think there's a bit more, but then after go Babu Kishar, obviously get a precept is gonna get, and then we can get Revelation the 7th chapter.
Yeah, of course, gonna get his average speech chapter as well.
Yeah.
So would you want when we finish and then Revelation 7?
Yeah.
Okay. So Surah 12:13 it says, who will pity a charmer that is bitten with the serpent?
Yeah, man. So like now that things are backfiring, everyone gonna be rich, and everyone's gonna be so great. Now people are being bit, and you're like, shit. This is not what I thought it was. Yeah,
there was that story, man. It was funny. You know when it's like you just see people's stupidity. But basically, you had these two farmers, man, in one of the southern states. Basically, they were like, yeah, man, me and my husband, we vote Trump. We regret it. We knew that basically that the immigrants would be affected and stuff like that, but we still voted for Trump. But these times, most of their workers were immigrants. So it's like they all dipped.
That's it.
They all dipped. So then it was just there like, yeah, now we've got no one to basically do the work on the farm.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's the spirit of fucking Esau.
Yeah,
it's not rational. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you would think it was like, wait, they've got these people. Now I want to keep the situation such that they ain't trying to go anywhere. You know what I'm saying? Like they're safe. You know,
can I have cheap labor?
Have cheap labor, yeah, because that's it. It's like, I'm not from there, but I cannot, assume that actually a lot of labor in the state is actually completed through a lot of ultimately slave labor, cheap labor, man.
Yeah. Yep.
You know.
Yep.
So it says, who will pity a charmer that is bitten with a serpent, or any such as come nigh wild beasts?
Yeah, man. And it's like, hey, man, especially for our people, man. You want to put your hope in Esau like in his system, but shit's gonna backfire. It's sort of like, which look, man. I mean, I'm happy Trump's in so-called office. Obviously, again, he's a puppet too, but you know what? Things are moving along.
Exactly, he's an entertaining puppet.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
The best two-player on the planet.
Yeah. And the thing is, it's one where you can see, because everyone kind of thinks Trump's unhinged anyway, right? that when people are coming up against his policies, it's sort of like, well, it's Trump.
Exactly.
You know, I'm used to having speech. People are gonna be like, yo, it's Trump though, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
You know, so when you're seeing people coming up against his policies, because let's be real, whether it was Kamala or not, right, the economy would have tanked. It would have just tanked differently.
Yeah.
A lot less in a way that wasn't as much fun, basically.
Yeah.
But it was the same thing would have still happened.
Well, now with this Israel thing in Iran, man.
Yeah.
That's going to affect the prices, man, of
exactly.
gas.
Yeah.
You know?
It was very much keeping an eye on what the next couple of days hold, because this is it as well. It's like China.
Yeah.
I was reading an article earlier on, was saying how China actually gets, a bit of oil from Iran. So of course China's a manufacturing powerhouse. So then couple that with the tariffs and stuff like that, right? People are going to be, those prices have a potential to increase even further, right? So it's certainly one to keep an eye out on what the Iranian retaliation will be, and whether actually you start getting a whole load of oil refineries in the Gulf regions being attacked. Because if that happens, it's going to be peak for petrol prices.
Yeah. So it's just heavy, man.
Yeah.
It's really that time, man.
Yeah, there's a lot going.
Planes falling out of skies.
Yeah.
Curfews.
That one didn't even get in the sky. That was the worst thing about it. It didn't even get.
And apparently one guy lived.
Yeah.
As soon as it's done, he's already in the bed giving an interview.
Exactly.
Yet his brother died. He's already getting interviewed.
Yeah.
Damn. And then what? There's curfews.
Yep.
Curfews, protests, and now obviously this weekend might be another big weekend. With these protests. Trump's birthday.
Yep.
It's gonna be interesting to see what's gonna happen this weekend, man.
That's it.
Because guess what, man? Again, these things are being set in stage. It's a problem, reaction, solution.
Yeah.
Because there's been a lot of information that's come out and obviously shown that these things, like a lot of these things are set up, man.
Yeah.
There's ads on Craigslist.
Yeah.
Pallets of bricks.
Yeah.
Like it's very clear what's going on.
Yeah.
But you know what? The people gonna respond. There's gonna be a response. People gonna push back, and all Israel's gonna do is pass, stricter laws. So when that real burning wrath, like martial law, like on the next level, because it's basically martial law, and people are saying it. People are saying it's like this is all being done to set the stage for true lockdown and martial law, man.
Yeah. Which is why once again DeSantis is saying what it is that he's saying, right? Because it's like this is it's one of the things. Reason I say it's like why they let out that whole story about Boris Johnson and them partying during the COVID lockdowns. Because the thing is, we know that they were doing worse than that. We know that they were,
check if you can see the comments, if any comments.
No. Yeah, it's like we know that they were doing a lot worse than just having a bit of a party. We know because we know how these elites get down. Right? So why let that story out? Right? Because what they want, right, is for people to not adhere to whatever the next lockdown is going to be. And then the thing is, then they're going to be like, well, we tried to play it nice with you guys. You didn't want to follow orders, so now we've got no choice but to come and hit you hard. Right?
Was that tied into that two horns as a lamp?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, whether it's the right or left, right, the same laws and agenda going, get pushed, and brothers are talking about it and going into the information on the videos, man. It's like, Obama sent more migrants back home than Trump did.
Yeah.
It's just that Obama was doing it, like at the border more.
Yeah.
And Trump is just doing it when they're here. They're snatching them up.
Well, and this is the thing, right? People think that the media apparatus that Esau has is impartial. No, it's very much an important part.
And pushes narratives.
Exactly, pushes narratives.
You know, it's like Esau is known historically for creating a threat.
Yeah.
Creating a threat, maximizing it through lies and propaganda, and seeking to exterminate that threat.
Yeah.
And guess what? You know what's an example of that? Haman.
Mm-hmm.
There's a certain pestilent people, or like a rebellious people, and like if we don't get rid of them all, they're just gonna destroy this whole kingdom and empire.
Yeah. Oh, if we can't let Iran get a nuclear bomb.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. You know, it's really the same story.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like now.
But it's just lucky. But it's like, but you know, when you're saying that, made me think. Fucking grab it real quick, man.
Yeah.
This is Jeremiah 13, right, and 23.
Yeah.
Right. It says, "Can the Ethiopian change his skin, or the leopard his spots? Then may you also to do good that are cast them to do evil."
Cast them to do evil.
You know, because that's how we can identify. People are like, how do you know they're the evil? Because look at the history,
bro.
They've been doing the same thing.
Esau has a track record of just not fucking stopping.
Yeah.
Just like just stop Esau.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just bro. You know?
He's got the whole world like legit. Like you be once again, like for instance, you look at the certain countries that we're from, right? You know what the modern world would refer to as conservative countries. But even then, you're seeing and you're hearing Esau's whine all up in there. He's got power over the entire world, right? He can decide whether the leader of this country or that country stays in power or gets disappeared. Yet he wants more.
Yeah, but what the scripture says it
cannot be satisfied.
Can't be satisfied.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's get them scriptures, man.
Yeah. This is Habakkuk 2 and 5.
And then also to the Revelation 7.
Yeah. It says, yea, also because he transgresseth by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desires.
Yeah, man. So how does he transgress by wine, man? Pushing forth his laws and wicked practices throughout the earth, man. Prime example right now is Pride Month right now.
Yeah.
It's Pride Month. Where you know, even just as we started the journey, we saw two freaks, man.
Yeah.
You know? This is, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And countries that for the longest time haven't accepted freaks, right? They're being worn down, man.
Yeah.
Right, because why Esau is exporting his media everywhere. Like for instance, I'd wanted to, you know, you hear about that program, The Last of Us.
Mm-hmm.
Right, I'd heard it was pretty good, but then basically like it said that in the second season it lost like half its viewership or something like that. And people commenting, and it was like, yeah, because they apparently just made it a lesbo freak fest, man. You know, and the main character then goes, which is a chick, says basically, oh, I'm gonna be a dad. And a lot of people put that as the bit where they were like, I am watching this.
Yeah, like, bro, sometimes you just want to watch a good ass show, man.
Exactly. And
you know what I mean?
Exactly.
You know, it's sort of like that program, the Shy. You know, basically, it's based in Chicago, and it was, you know, telling a story. And the first season, the first season I think was alright. You know, you kind of getting the storyline, learning the characters. And then I believe it was the second. I think the main character was a Jake, innit? When Jake from Chi-Town, and he left because they were trying to make his character partner be a trans dude, innit? To make that his girl basically a trans. And he said, man, I'm leaving the show. I ain't doing this shit.
Yeah.
And the second season, I watched 2 episodes, 1 episode and a half. I'm like, I can't even watch this. So I ain't even finished the series to this day because it was a trans on a motorbike, and now that's his boo.
True. I remember as well, which was just watching TV. It was my mum was watching something on Netflix. It was a fucking Tyler Perry flick.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was called. It's like, imagine out of nowhere, right? It just cuts to a scene, and it's like a mum walking around, like it was like one of them bougie compounds, right? And then you just basically see this naked dude, right? And I was like, what the fuck? And then she goes into the yard because because of Jay immediately assumes like why did they put that in the thing? Why is he just beating the girl out? And you go in, there's a fucking dude. What's a fucking dude? I told my mom, I was like, yo, the fuck you? And I was like, you watch it? I was like, nah, bro.
It's that wine.
It's that wine, but this is it. People don't understand that these things aren't just entertainment, right? These things aren't just entertainment. These are the things that attack your psyche. I remember the elder brother was explaining it. That's why they'll co-opt your emotions. Like, so you have a story that is, say, traditionally a man and a woman character, right? Now, people love a love story. He gets the girl, but then he'll basically make the second character a dude. So then what people don't understand is that they're then basically rooting for a freak. For a freak fest. So subconsciously they're starting to agree with those policies, man. That's why Esau's got to go. So let me finish this. I will cook 2 from 5.
And you know what? Everything we're seeing take place is all the pathway down onto Esau's kingdom going down, because you know what? Martial law, uproars of the people, concentration camps, the mark of the beast. So all these things are leading up to the return of the Lord and the ultimate end of Esau's kingdom, World War III. Yeah,
because when you read 2nd Ezra 15, it says basically all of the destruction that's going to happen, and then it goes and says, right, for wickedness had exceedingly polluted the whole earth. Right, and that's what you see throughout the world, man. Right. So it says here, also because he transgressed by one's philosophies, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home.
You're fucking everywhere. You're fucking invading, and people are tired of you invading, and when people speak about it, you want to get upset. And now you see Esau's a fucking hypocrite, bro. Esau's a fucking hypocrite, bro. Like, when you think about Esau, prime example, they'll talk about the white South African genocide. That's not a genocide, bro. It's not a genocide. It's not what you do. You know what I mean? It's not a genocide. But then they ain't got nothing to say about Palestine, though.
Exactly.
Now we don't have a foot in whether we're for Palestine or against. We are on the side of prophecy. But if wickedness is happening, whether it's to a heathen or not, right? We're gonna call it out, man. Nigga talking about white South African genocide, them getting asylum, but the situation in Palestine is alright though.
Exactly, and the ironic thing is, these were the same people that were saying, "Oh well, I can't classify what a genocide is."
Yeah, Starmer, innit?
Starmer, yeah.
He was But you know what? Which is a serpent. That's why the scripture calls him the accuser of thy brethren, because when it comes to Jake, he can categorize everything Jake do. When Jake is going off or doing something, they're this, they're that, they're this, they're polite Hebrew Israelites, and all that, which we've said many times. When it comes to calling out wickedness, it's we can't quite put a name on it. You know what? Let's get into 2nd Ezra 15. Obviously we're gonna get to our journey soon. So 15 and 14 on down, because there's so much things going on. Like we mentioned, man. Like, again, planes falling out of the sky, protests. Again, there's even protests happening against migrants in Northern Ireland. Like we mentioned, man. People having to put their home nation flag on their door just to stop people breaking into the house. Kali, much more. Let's
2nd Ezra 15:14. Says, woe to the world and them that dwell therein. And the sword and their destruction draweth nigh. And one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands.
And it's like, even with these protests, the people's minds are splitting. The kingdom is divided. And it's like, now, like we mentioned, that governor of Florida saying, if you need to run over a migrant, do it. Like, come on. Okay?
It says For the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. For they shall be sedition among men.
Yeah, and that's exactly what's going to take place, and that's what's taking place. Although, you know, like a lot of them are paid actors and that, but guess what? That might spark the mindset of people who actually lose their shit and get involved too.
That's it.
You know, good.
It says, they shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their action shall stand in their power.
And guess what? All these events we're seeing is setting the stage for when Esau really comes down on people, man.
Yep.
You know, with all these laws, these little laws, and National Guard, all these little things that it's fine to do now, is going to be used on a bigger scale later, right?
Yep. It says, a man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able, for because of their pride the cities shall be troubled, and their houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid.
And men shall be afraid. And men shall be afraid, man. So hey, man, you know, as the brother W77 says, as to the skies, you know what I'm saying? Because, you know, everything's happening, man.
That's it.
And now we're waiting to see what's going to happen on Saturday. You know, we're obviously expecting more to happen. So we got to wait and see.
That's it.
Alright, so hey, with that, we're going to say, all praises be to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushua, Ba'ashem, Kudash. Double honors to the apostles and elders. Millstone. Until next time, we're going to say, Shalom.
Shalom, shalom, shalom.